Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. And in today's video, I'm going to look at two more of these Emma White interviews, which will be number 14 and number 15. So there's still two more. I know one video that I'm definitely looking for is the video where she was being interviewed at the side of the road and Paul goes past in the car. I can't seem to find that. If any of you know where I can find that, please let me know. Anyway, so yeah, we're up to 15 interviews now. It's funny, isn't it? Then when the family statement came out, it was to the media, leave us alone now. Leave us alone now. Anyway. So we have only 3 sunrises now until Nicola Bulley's inquest. There may be some new people coming in here who don't know about the Nicola Bulley case. Nicola disappeared in January while she was walking her dog, and her dog and the dog lead and her phone were found by the side of a river. And more or less 3 weeks later, 23 days later, unfortunately, Nicola's body was retrieved from the river. But during this time, the river was searched many times by many specialist teams, private and the police teams, Coast Guard, etc., and nothing had been found. And then Nicola did appear in the river and was found or was spotted by a psychic who was walking along the river at the time, sort of half looking for Nicola, and who actually did spot her in the river, and she came down the river, settled in some reeds, and then the police came and retrieved her. The whole situation has caused so much interest, I think, because of the mystery around it. There are a lot of mistakes made by the police at the beginning of the inquiry. They immediately assumed, for reasons that we didn't know at the time, that Nicola had gone into the river. They never pursued any avenue of third-party involvement. There were no, the bench where a phone was found, etc., was not treated as a crime scene. It was immediately assumed that there was no third party involved, even really before that could possibly have been known. So these are all the things. Maybe what I'll do tomorrow is like a précis of the whole case, what's the word, a summary, an overview, because it's gone. This was January. Her body was found in February. The inquest starts on Monday. 3 sunrises to go. The inquest starts. We're hoping to get answers. Her family, her parents must be absolutely in bits. So my prayers, my thoughts go out to her parents and her 2 children, of course, her 2 girls. And I hope that one way or another, some answers come through from the inquest that give them a little bit of closure. You can never bring Nikki back. But if they get some answers, maybe it will help. I don't know what will help, but anyway, so that's where my prayers are, with the parents, with her parents, and with her children. So I've been doing, leading up to the inquest, because it seemed to have taken such a long time to get here, because we're now in June, so it's like 4 months of complete media blackout. Nobody's been allowed to talk about the case except us lot on social media. The coroner decided that he didn't want any information leaking out, etc. So the inquest has been put to 2 days instead of 1. It was initially planned for 1 day. It's now planned for 2 days, but it still seems quite short for all the things that are likely to take place. Maybe there'll be witnesses interviewed, there'll be evidence presented, and the coroner, James Aidley's got to come to a decision. I will be on live. That's Monday the 26th of June, this Monday in 3 Sunrises. I will be on live and hoping some information to come out. Obviously, the inquest itself won't be televised, but presumably there'll be some news leaking out as the day goes on, because it is a public inquest after all. So it is within the public's right to know what happens at an inquest. That is the tradition. That is how it is. The inquest has been limited to 100 people, which we think is 70, not witnesses, 70 people that are allowed to watch the inquest, and the other 30 places, because apparently it's got a capacity of 100, the actual court, coroner's court, will be for press and for witnesses, family, etc. There's been who knows how many people applied to go to that inquest. Many people, I imagine. Nobody knows what the criteria was to receiving a place for it. Some of Nicola's friends haven't been granted a place. I don't know if it was based on where you lived or whether you had whether they checked you out on social media. We just don't know what the criteria was. So who knows who's actually has got a place there. I don't know anybody yet who's got a place there. So if anybody has got a place and they don't mind telling me they've got a place, if they don't want to tell me publicly, they can email me very privately on Vicky Marie Chats, that's Vicky with an I, at gmail.com. So what we're going to look at today are I'm struggling for the interviews now, Emma, because I'm at the end of them. I've done 13 so far. So today I'll be doing a 14th one and a 15th one. They're quite short. They're just snippets. That a lot of things have definitely disappeared, which I'll explain to you as we go along. Definitely some footage has disappeared off the internet. So before I start, I just want to do my housekeeping. And for those of you who may not even know who I am, I'm Vicky, and I talk about true crime, but not only true crime, but anything that I think anybody might find interesting, or basically that I find interesting, and hope that my subscribers, my chatters, that they will find interesting too, because we're of a like mind. Lately I've been doing a lot. Every day this week I've been doing interviews, because it's this build up to, this is a big thing, this inquest, because the Nicola Bulley case is a case that we've all followed so closely. We're all invested into justice for Nicola. There's a lot of us feel like there's things that haven't come out yet, that she's been unfairly treated, because my particular real anger is that her not her actual medical records. Some people have talked about her medical records, which I think is disgusting, to be honest. But it was released that she supposedly had problems with depression, alcoholism, and perimenopause, and this is what led to them perhaps treating her as a vulnerable missing person and assuming that she'd gone into the river. So we don't know yet. We haven't had the verdict from the coroner as for her cause of death. So we shouldn't jump to conclusions one way or the other. So that's so I have done quite a lot of. I don't normally do quite so many videos, but this is an important week leading up to this inquest. So many people, and not only in Britain, because this happened in Britain, all over the world, people are interested in this case. So I don't know why my little dog is whining. Come here. What's up with you? I don't know what's up with it. Anyway, so so that's basically it about me. Oh, and my housekeeping, in other words, what I want to tell you about is just recently hit 1,800 subscribers. Thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed to my channel. If you want to support my channel, the best way you can do it is by giving me a thumbs up on the video, subscribing, maybe sharing the video if you think somebody would be interested in it. And if you want to go a little bit further, you can become a member for some extra sort of videos, etc., photos, information. Or you can buy me a coffee on coffee.com, or you can send super chats, super thanks, and super stickers. But as I say, the best way, the most important way that you can help me that's completely free of charge is just by liking my videos. That's really, obviously, if you do like them. If you're not sure yet, you can like it at the end. Okay, so let's have a look then at these in these two interviews. Now then, hang on, I'm doing a different thing this time. I'm not sharing, I'm sharing a video file. There you go.
I believe so. If you watch the bulletin,
there you go. It came right up. So I'm presuming, yes, you can see that. You can see that fine. Now, this first interview that we're going to look at is very, very short. I could not find the whole interview. Now, we saw, this is an interview she must have done. She did 2 interviews on this same day, because we have seen her on the bank of the river like this, but with another camera angle. So obviously she must have been interviewed by one media outlet, and then this is, I think this is Good Morning Britain, this particular one. She was being interviewed by Susanna Reid, but I cannot find the whole video. Only I found this clip of it, and it was on another news website. And when I looked on the Good Morning Britain website, the whole video is, well, the video is gone, so I couldn't find it. So we'll just play what we can of it.
I believe so. If you watch the bulletin, Peter's bit of kit was 52,000. I don't know what Lancashire bit of kit was, and I think that's what they were talking about yesterday when we were getting Peter involved. And Lancashire Police said, "Well, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z?" Well, we don't know that, and that's why. But obviously, Peter's here working with Lancashire Police, and we just have to have everything crossed that the search continues and Nicola's not in that river.
Yeah, so it seems like there's been some acrimony or something. If we listen to what she says, because for those of you who don't know, what happened was Emma is Nicola's friend, supposedly. Well, she was a friend. She knew her. How well she knew her, how close friends they were, we just don't know, really, or I certainly don't know. Anyone who actually knows them personally who wants to let me know what the actual friendship they had was, please do, because there's so many conflicting rumours. And then when Nicola disappeared, Emma sort of set herself up as, or the family set. Again, there's so much we don't know. She was the one giving all the information to the media, acting as if she was the police, like telling the public what they shouldn't do, which number they should ring with information, what information they need. She's just took complete control of the whole process. And this has made people a little bit suspicious, because everything she talks about is all about her and Paul. And there seems to be this division between, so Nicola's parents and her sister, they appeared in one interview, but separately. They've never appeared in a joint interview along with Nicola's partner, Paul. There's a lot of videos on here about Paul as well. So a lot of speculation that maybe Paul and Nicola were actually on the verge of separation, even if they hadn't already separated. There's rumours of domestic violence. There was a welfare check carried out at the house by the police on the 10th of January. We still don't know exactly what happened there. The police tell us, everyone tells the public not to speculate, but they don't give any information out, and they just speculate themselves about everything that would happen. So really, that's why this case has become a complete, You know, it ranges from psyops, theories range from psyops, conspiracy theories, that Nicola might have gone into witness protection, that she may have been abducted, you know, it may have been arranged by Paul, or maybe Paul had nothing to do with it and it was two fishermen that were sick. Do you know, there are so you could not have a story that had more red herrings, more you couldn't write a book that had all this in it. And unfortunately, this is a person's life. You know, this is Nicola, and two children have lost their mother, and there's so much rumor and speculation. But the thing, you know, the thing is, what we need the information, and this is what we're hoping from the inquest, because then people will hopefully stop speculating. You know, whether, to me, I think the coroner, at the end of the day, what he says is going to be true. He's the expert, you know, he's the expert. You know, we are not the experts on autopsies and things like that. So and I know a lot of people believe in conspiracy theories and that, but to me, I just would say, why? Why would there be a conspiracy around Nicola's death? You know, that I don't see what that would be about. But anyway, everyone's got their theories. Everybody's theories are welcome on my channel. I like to hear people's theories if they've got, you know, some evidence to back it up, especially. I'm always open to listening to ideas. I think all that we do generally agree on is something very mysterious happened. You know, I think people can't quite get to grips with the fact that Nicola deleted herself. I don't think there's any evidence to show that she deleted herself, but they've brought up this thing about the menopause and the depression and the drinking afterwards, long after Nicola first went missing. You know, initially none of that was discussed. Nicola was made out to be this sort of almost perfect person, and you know, the rock of the family, etc. The other suspicious thing about Emma, the friend, and you know, I don't know Emma, maybe she, again, if anyone actually knows Emma, actually knows her and knows what she's normally like. You know, is she just one of those people that likes to be in charge, takes over? Sometimes you need someone like that. Or, you know, is she taking over too much? You know, it's sometimes her and Paul, it seems like they're a couple. And she talks about the family as if it's a blended family, about her children and his children. And I get this feeling that they're all together, you know. But yeah, what she just said then that was interesting, if we listen. Oh, so what happened was she and Paul, not, because quite often they talk about the family in this case, but often the family, they're not talking about Nicola's parents and her sister. They're talking about Paul and Emma. You know, quite often reporters have interviewed Emma and referred to her as family. She doesn't bat an eyelid. Anyway, yeah, listen, so they brought in, although the police were using their search teams, divers, etc., they brought in a private search team, Peter Falding and his team. Peter is a private company, his company is a private company, but it quite often works with the police if the police need some extra help, and he helps, and he offered his services free of charge. And in he came, but he didn't find any trace of Nicola either. But let's just see what she says here.
I believe so. If you watch the bulletin, Peter's bit of kit was 52,000. I don't know what Lancashire bit of kit was, and I think that's what they were.
So she said Peter's bit of kit was 52,000. What does she mean? Now I'm not sure what 52,000 what pounds. Then
talking
she
about
said,
yesterday when we were getting Peter involved, and
yeah, she says, I don't know what the Lancashire police bit of kit is. What does that mean?
Peter involved, and Lancashire police said, well, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z? Well, we don't.
Yeah, it feels like there's been
Yesterday
some
when
sort of
we were
discussion.
getting Peter involved, and Lancashire police said, well, how do you know our kit is? They were talking about yesterday when we were getting Peter involved, and Lancashire police said, well, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z. Well, we don't know that, and that's why.
Yeah, so we were getting Peter involved, and Lancashire Police said, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z? And we said, oh, we don't know. So it sounds as if then there's been some sort of dispute there, doesn't it? Like maybe they've said, oh, we're bringing in Peter Folding, and maybe the police have said, well, why are you bringing in Peter Folding? And they said, oh, well, he's got this bit of kit, she called it, and it's such and such. And they said, well, how do you know our bit of kit isn't such and such? So yeah, it sounds like there might have been a little dispute there about that. I'm going to put it down to back to the beginning. You can listen to it again.
So I believe so. If you watch the bulletin, Peter's bit of kit was 52,000. I don't know what Lancashire bit of kit was, and I think that's what they were talking about yesterday when we were getting Peter involved. And Lancashire Police said, "Well, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z?" Well, we don't know that, and that's why. But obviously, Peter's here working with Lancashire Police, and we just have to have everything crossed that the search continues and Nicola's not in that river.
Yeah, so it sounded there, didn't it, like something might have. Well, Peter's here now, and sounds like there may have been a little bit of a problem there when she decided she was going to bring in Peter Folding, possibly. Now, you never see the police giving a joint press conference with Paul either, or it's it's such an odd case. I mean, there's been a few police press conferences. I think there's probably been 4 or 5. Paul, the partner, he did 2 interviews, and he also sent a voice message to Sky News. So that's, say, 8. And the parents and the sister made 1 interview. So that would be 9 interviews. If you put all those together, the police, Paul, and the family, like, as in the parents, Emma did 17 interviews. So she did more interviews than all of the others put together. This to me is just unheard of. A friend of the family doing all those interviews. Normally, in a lot of cases, isn't it, the people that project themselves forward and try and get involved, and they quite often have something to do with it, I'm afraid. So, but I don't know that. Maybe Emma is just the sort of person who likes to take control. So anyway, that was so short. That is just all there was on the website that I found. I can't find the full interview. If anybody knows where I can find the full interview, please let me know. Now, this next interview, this is again an interview that she's obviously been interviewed by more than one media outlet on the same day, because I've shown an interview where she's wearing the same thing, she's standing in the same spot, but she's talking to a different reporter. So this must be when she's moved on to the next reporter, and this is Good Morning Britain.
Her children and yours?
Yeah, I think children are quite resilient, aren't they? Obviously asking questions each day. I know the girls, when they get home from school, say, any news on mummy?
Yeah, so children are very resilient, aren't they? Yeah. She talked, I still don't like the way she talks about the children. She's either talking about their little minds, or, talking about, I think it's very patronising when she's talking about the children. But watch this next thing that she says, and watch her smile. So this is the other thing that's upset a lot of people with Emma's interviews. She's always smiling. Not only that she doesn't get ever genuinely upset, there's never a tear. There's 17 interviews, no tears when your friend's gone missing. There's a couple of times in interviews where a voice sort of breaks, but there's no tears. It's not genuine. It just isn't. I've seen a million interviews like this when people are pretending to cry, or if there's no tears, when you cry, when you really genuinely feel emotion, you get tears. You just do. And even if you're trying to control it, you cannot control your eyes filling up. You can't. And the other thing, when I watch Emma being interviewed, same with Paul, I do feel people's emotions. When I watched Dot and Ernie's interview, I started crying because I was feeling their emotions. I never feel that when I'm watching Emma or Paul being interviewed. Never. And, you know, I am an empathetic person. I do feel for people when I feel that but I can't feel an emotion that isn't there. So I'm not saying that they've necessarily done anything to Nicola. What I'm trying to say is I don't feel that there's any real warmth or love there, real emotion, you know, in missing her. Unless they're really, really good at covering it up, but nobody could cover it up this much.
And Paul has to say no. And Paul says he can just see the little girls just deflate. I know the little girl saying, "Is my mummy famous?" And what didn't quite know how to answer that myself. It's for the wrong reasons. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the girls were saying, "Is my mummy famous?" And I didn't know how to answer that myself. For the wrong reasons. Smile. Look, this is what I mean. Anytime when you stop the video, that is what you get, a smile, a smirk even. Look, why that's somebody, honest to God, I'm starting to think either I'm really like a bad person or, you know, there's something really wrong here. She just looks so happy. Let's watch that again.
For the wrong reasons. Absolutely. And what do you want now? I think it's simple, isn't it? Simple, just bring Nikki home. And I've said, we'll bring Nikki home, come to the sofa with the girls, with Willow, and you can have that happy story because that's what we're keeping hopeful. I believe so. If you watch the bulletin, Peter's bitter kit.
You know, again, right, let's watch they're only short, so let's just watch the whole interviews again and watch at the end of that second interview. She's really smiling.
It was 52,000. I don't know what Lancashire bit of kits was, and I think that's what they were talking about yesterday when we were getting Peter involved. And Lancashire Police said, "Well, how do you know our kit isn't X, Y, and Z?" Well, we don't know that, and that's why. But obviously, Peter's here working with Lancashire Police, and we just have to have everything crossed that the search continues and Nicola's not in that river.
Hoping her children and yours.
Yeah, I think children are quite resilient, aren't they? But obviously asking questions each day. I know the girls, when they get home from school, say, "Any news on mummy?" And Paul has to say no. And Paul says he can just see the little girls just deflate. I know the little girl saying, "Is my mummy famous?" And what didn't quite know how to answer that myself. It's for the wrong reasons. Absolutely. And what do you want now? I think it's simple, isn't it? Simple, just bring Nikki home. And I've said, we'll bring Nikki home, come to the sofa with the girls, with Willow, and you can have that happy story because that's what we're keeping hopeful.
Okay, well, let me know your thoughts. As always, I'd like your thoughts. Tell me if I'm imagining it. Tell me if you don't see it that way. Do you see a woman distraught because her friend has gone missing? Do you? I mean, maybe some people do, but I don't see it. I'd like to see it. Not that I'd like to see her distraught, but you know, I don't like thinking bad of people. It's the same with Paul. I don't want to think bad of Paul because at the end of the day, Paul is all those children have got left, well, and their grandparents. So, you know, that's their dad. They've lost their mum. It wouldn't be nice for them to lose their dad for whatever reason. So, you know, I'd like to think it's not like that, but I just don't feel the emotion. That's the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you now, as they say. I will be doing a live later on tonight if you're watching this on Friday the 23rd of June. And I think what I'm going to do tonight, well, I haven't quite decided. I'm torn between maybe look at some of the things that Peter Blexley has said, though I may do that in a video tomorrow to release tomorrow. I think what I'd like to do tonight is a case that I've mentioned before of Susan Powell, who was an American woman who has never been found, who went missing. It's a little while ago now. It's quite an old case, but it always resonates with me. With cases of women going missing, and the recent case of Madeleine Kingsbury going missing in the USA, in Winona, in Minnesota, I had this awful feeling that it was going to end up like the Susan Powell case, because the Susan Powell case is, to me, a landmark, an example of why people, social services, etc., got to be so careful of leaving children or allowing children to be with the partner of somebody who possibly has done something to their mother. And it's very difficult. I think it must be very, very difficult when somebody's not actually been arrested of a crime, because there's no evidence against them, as there wasn't in the Susan Powell case. It couldn't be proven. Unfortunately, social services were forced into at least allowing some parental rights to the father, with tragic consequences. It's a very tragic case, the Susan Powell case. I don't doubt if we'll have any more answers now, because everybody involved in that case, everybody is no longer with us. So it's just, but I think it's hopefully something. I did feel with the Madeline case in the USA. I did feel, the Madeline Kingsbury case in the USA, I did feel that some lessons had been learnt, because her partner or ex-partner, he was trying to get hold of the children, but he was suspected of having done something to Madeline, though there was no evidence, because they couldn't actually find Madeline for quite a long time. She was missing for a long time. But the police did intervene in the court case hearings, and they did do what they could to ensure that Madeline's ex-partner Adam did not gain access to the children. Fortunately, because then eventually Madeline's body was found, and Adam was then immediately arrested and charged with murder, second-degree homicide at the moment, but it could become more than that later on. So what I'm trying to say is, this Susan Powell case, although it was quite a while ago, I think it's important that people remember her anyway, and all the victims in this case. But also, these cases are yardsticks for future cases. Police forces everywhere, they have to learn from things like this, because there were so many mistakes made in that case that, as I say, led to absolute tragedy, I think. So it's important that we know about it. There's probably, some of you probably know about the Susan Powell case, but there's probably quite a lot of you who don't know about it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about on the live tonight, Friday the 23rd of June. So remember to always live and love very wisely. I'll see you again very soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. And I just want to add, and I've added it a couple of times, look after you. Make sure you look after you, because you are the most important person. You can't look after everybody else unless you look after you. So you know, the good, I think a lot of people, they're so busy looking after everybody else, they don't think to look after themselves. And then you feel guilty if you do something to look after yourself, but you are important, you are special. Okay, so yeah, till I see you again, may your God go with you. Thank you.